Hi, and welcome to this tutorial on rapid prototyping with React and the Zeppelin Design System. What I want to show you today is how practical it can be to build up a simple website and what a great tool modern JavaScript frameworks can be for rapid prototyping. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely cases when websites need to take a lot of time, but they can also be really fast. If you have an idea for a digital product you want to test out, if you're stuck on an idea, or if you just have a bunch of unknowns about how people will use your product or how well it will be received, I really urge you to just build a prototype and see what happens. Because once you have something built, then you can start getting some real feedback. So be willing to fail fast and be willing to rebuild, because when it comes to front-end frameworks, so much of the code is reusable, none of it will be wasted time. What I want to do in this tutorial is give you all of the tools that you need to get started building a website. We're going to create the website shown here on the left with a header, some content, and a footer. Then we're going to style this website using the Zeppelin Design System so we get this nice indigo purple color. And finally, since we're a global company, we're going to add in some translation so that when we click on this button here in the corner, our text will change from English to German. All of the code and links shown in this video are going to be available on GitHub. Simply check out the link below this video. So let's get started. In this tutorial, I will be using React as our JavaScript framework. You could just as easily use Vue or Angular if that's your thing. All are equally as good. It's really just personal preference. To help get us started, I'm going to be using something called Create React App. I want to note that this isn't a shortcut, but a widely used tool to help us set up our build configurations. When you're done with your rapid prototype project, all of your code can easily be built upon to make a full-blown website or digital product. Your prototype doesn't have to be thrown away. So to get started, we're going to go ahead and copy this command here into our terminal, and Create React App is going to install a folder called My App. We can go ahead and open that up using your favorite editor, and we can see that it's installed for us a public folder which has our index.html. This is where the React app is going to be injected and run. We also have our favicon and some logos. We have the source folder, which holds all of the files that are going to be used to create our React app. And we also have some build files. Most important to us is going to be this package.json file, where we can see all of the libraries that are necessary to run this app. We can go ahead and install those initially. And we can also see all of the command prompts that we need in order to install or to get a React app up and running. It's simply start. We can run that, and we can see that our React app is immediately up and running. Great, so let's go ahead and start adding our structure into this. First thing I want to do is open up the source file and start a new folder called components. Here I'm going to add a header, a footer, and some content. In each file, I'm going to make a simple React function, and I'm just going to give them some dummy content to start. We're then going to move to our main content file, which is app.js, and we're going to simply import all three of those new files. We can go ahead and remove some of the stuff here that React installed for us. And when we save this, we can immediately see the changes over here in the browser. Great, now that we have our structure all set up, we can go ahead and start adding some styling. So to style our website, I'm going to be using what's called the Zeppelin Design System, which is a wonderful tool created by the Z-Digit team to help designers and developers share designs and code. Here you can find all of the information that you need to create a digital product. You can find our official colors. You can download the Zeppelin logo. You can see what Google font should be used for digital products. And you can find information about web elements, what they should look like and how they should behave. Since we're using React, I'm going to go ahead and install this library here called @zlab-de/zelreact. This is a React component library that was built using all of the styles that you see here. One thing to note, we do need to install this file called zel.css in order to access all of our styles. And we also want to make sure that we tell it which logo or which theme that we want to use. We can pick from indigo, yellow, or red. I'm going to go ahead and choose theme indigo for this project. And to test it out, let's go ahead and import a button. I can see from this page that we can have 3 different variants. Let's go ahead and choose primary. we move back over to our website and restart the app, of course, we can immediately see that button is available and working. Great. Now I also want to go ahead and install two other libraries. One is called CLSX, which is a tool that's going to allow us to put class names and these strings together here. And also one called Material UI Styles. Material UI is a really great React component library. If you're building a bigger digital product, I highly recommend you use it together with the Zeppelin Design System. But for now, we're just going to be using its style library. And that's going to allow us to put CSS here in this JavaScript file. Let's first add some styles to this app.js file. First thing we're going to do is import something called make styles from the Material UI library. We can go ahead and create a style sheet that we're going to use, and we want to create a class called root that will allow the header to stay at the top, the content to span the width of our app, and the footer to stay at the bottom. We can use these styles with a variable called classes. And then we're going to use CLSX as a helper tool so that we can add classes.root and this theme indigo together in the same line. We can go ahead and clean these files up a little bit by removing this button again. And also it's important to note that Create React app added in a few extra CSS files for us that we don't need. However, we do want to change this index.css file and add in our own so that the height spans 100%. Great. And there we have it. We now have working styles. So let's go ahead and start styling our individual components. I'm going to start here with the footer first. To style the background of our footer purple, we can use the Zeppelin Design System to find the exact hex code of this indigo purple color. However, what would be even better is if we could directly access all of these variables here found in the guidelines section in our CSS. And fortunately, thanks to Material UI Styles, we can do just that using something called the theme provider. To install this, I'm going to move over to the root file called index.js. Here we can import the theme provider from Material UI Styles. And we can also go ahead and import a file called guidelines.json from our Zel React component library. We're going to pass this JSON file into the theme provider. And then we'll immediately have access to this file here as the theme. If we set up our footer file with the same make styles component, then we can go ahead and test out this theme right away and see that we want to use theme.logo indigo to make the background color this indigo purple. If we apply that class to the footer, great, now we can see a little bit of purple here, so it's working. Let's add a little more styling to the root so that we can see this a little better. And let's go ahead and change this text so that it is our Zeppelin copyright. We want to add some styles here. However, in the Zeppelin Design System, we can also find some typography themes. We can go ahead and use a pre-made one called Zep Typo Normal Body to just give it our regular styling. And then maybe so that we can see it, let's also use CLSX to give it a separate class, and we're going to make it white. All right, this is already starting to look a lot better. Now let's go ahead and move on to styling our header. Here in the header, we're going to want to bring in our image, which is going to be the Zeppelin logo. And we're also going to bring in a button from the Zeppelin Design System. The logo we're going to get from the Zeppelin Design System webpage. Under Logo, we can simply choose the logo that we want to download. We can see there's a bunch of different sizes. I want to go ahead and choose the large, and we're going to put it into a new folder called Assets. I also want to go ahead and rename this logo so that it's a little easier to work with. We can import that logo. And we can see it just needs a little bit of styling, and then we're ready to go. I'm going to also make a class name for our logo. And our header is about done. However, this button is looking a little big, so why don't we make this a little bit smaller and make it a medium button. That's all we need, so we can go ahead and move on to the content section. Our content file, we don't need too much. We're just going to put some text here. As before, I want to go ahead and use a class name that's a predefined style from the Zeppelin Design System. We can see here there is a typography style already predefined for each one. And let's give it a little bit of padding and also align this so it equals center. And now we can see we have a completely styled website. So the last thing we have to do is go ahead and start with our translations. We're going to add a couple of packages in using i18 Next. And I'm going to copy over some config files to get us started. This is a standard configuration, so you can copy it from GitHub and use it for your project as well. Let's restart our app and take a look at what files we have. Most interesting, you can see, is that we have these 2 language files. So for every language that you want to translate, you simply add a JSON file in. The first string that we want to translate is something called title, and we want to copy over our English text. Then we're going to move to our German file and write in the German translation for this text. We can move back to the content file, import the translation function, create a variable called t so that we can access it, and then swap out here our text for our translation. If you remember, we called it title. And so that the app has access to our translation files, we have to go ahead and import that initial config file. And we can see now we have the English translation. So we're going to stay in this app file now and make a function that will allow us to switch between English and German. We're going to import use translation again. Except this time I'm going to create a variable called i18n. We also want to create a state for React so that we can switch back and forth between our English and our German language. All that's left is to create our function. And then we can pass it down to our header. In our header, we want to receive these 2 props that we're passing it, language and handle language change. On our button, we can add some on-click action. And then here, we want it to just change and show us whatever language we're working with. And that's it. You now have a fully functioning website that's ready for your content. All of this code is available on GitHub. Simply check out the link below this video. Please feel free to share your feedback, and please feel free to share your prototypes. I'd love to see what we can create together. Thanks for listening, and I hope you join us next time.